All right, you're good to go. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Kuipers, and I am the Affordability and Digital Initiatives Librarian at St. Cloud State University. Today, I'm going to be discussing building a sustainable OER ecosystem based on my experience as a first-year librarian. Okay, so the objectives of the session are to understand my role as a first-year librarian in OER implementation, develop institutional strategies for OER sustainability, and also to learn how to foster collaboration and community building around OER. So in May of 2023, I graduated with my MLIS, so my Master of Library and Information Science. And then in August of 23, I started my position with St. Cloud State. It was a brand new position for St. Cloud State, and it was a fixed term position lasting only 1 year, but it was supported by the university, and there was potential for the position to continue on. The purpose too of my position was to advance and sustain the affordability initiative at SCSU. So it had already started. They had just created a position that was going to be specifically dedicated to the initiative. So SCSU's affordability initiative began in 2017, and their initial goal was to increase the number of affordable courses on campus. At that time, affordable was defined as making a course's textbook available for checkout in the library, using a textbook that was less than $40, using open educational resources, or just not using a textbook at all. And University Library received grant funding from the Minnesota State System Office to do this work. So their first plan of action was to create a textbooks on reserve program. So keeping a collection of textbooks that were used throughout campus, having them in the library or online in our catalog, and to be available for students to check out for a few hours to be used within the library. So after that, they wanted to focus on increasing the number of affordable liberal education program courses. And the reason was because these would have the most impact on students because every student is required to take LEP courses. So they wanted to reach the most students as possible. But we currently have the goal of creating a Z degree by spring 2026. In this past May, we received additional funding to do this work. So we are very fortunate to have grant funding to do this. So when I first started in my position, I had minimal knowledge on textbook affordability and OER. That was not something that I learned in graduate school. My only experience with OER was being a student myself and at a university that used quite a bit of OER and had the course markings in their catalog so that when I registered for courses, I could take courses that didn't require a textbook. So I quickly had to learn like what an OER or affordability initiative should be comprised of. And based on my research of other institutions, I discovered a few issues with our affordability initiative. So for starters, we do not offer any sponsored affordability development opportunities for faculty, despite having quite a bit of grant funding. Also, faculty just were not aware of OER and not aware of the fact the library was there to support them in pursuing OER or learning about it. And then we had a lack of student voice in the matter. So considering that this would affect students the most, I found it important to include students in the conversation. So to resolve the issue of not having sponsored affordability development opportunities, I created an Adopt, Adapt, or Create OER program in which we offered up to $1,000 stipend using grant funding. And the work had to result in OER being used for one or more of the faculty members' courses. I also adapted a textbook affordability online course from Minnesota State University Mankato. They had an OER available, a cartridge for our learning management system. And so I was able to adapt that to match SCSU and kind of simplify the content a little bit. And so faculty could enroll in that anytime and upon completion of the course, receive a $250 stipend, as well as a certificate of completion. To spread awareness of OER and the support available to them, I created an affordability at SCSU LibGuide. And so if you're not familiar with LibGuides, they're just basically a website for faculty to access, or anyone to access really. And we had already had an open education LibGuide, but I thought it was important to have one specifically about the affordability initiative and the work that we were doing. Also, I hosted monthly workshops and sessions on various OER topics, such as like Creative Commons, or like where to find OER and how to incorporate like DEI when searching and creating OER. And I held these sessions both in person and on Zoom just to make it more convenient for faculty. And then I also hosted weekly affordability and faculty collaboration hours. The purpose behind that was to offer a time where faculty could get one-on-one help on either finding OER or just learning more about it. And I held these both in person and on Zoom again. But with the in-person sessions, I went to different buildings around campus, since the library is not centrally located, to be more convenient for faculty. To amplify the student voice, I met with our Student Government Association, and the work I kind of discussed with them, the work that we had done and the work that we were planning to do. They had tons of amazing questions and were happy to be part of the conversation. And our SGA has a lot of power, like most SGAs. And so we collaborated, and they passed a resolution announcing their support of our affordability initiative, which was crucial to let university administration know that they find this work important and my position important to help sustain it. We also did a tabling event similar to the hashtag textbook broke campaign in Canada. And as you can see, we asked students how much they spent on textbooks that semester. While we were happy to see that some students did not spend anything on textbook that semester, we spoke with quite a few students that had spent over $500. So it was really enlightening to learn what areas maybe we need to focus more of our targeted outreach. And so it was a very enlightening experience. We also passed out stickers that said, "I support the University Library's affordability initiative," to help spread awareness among students and faculty. So institutional strategies are critical for OER sustainability. For starters, I recognize that we needed to have institutional support for this to continue. So OER work is actually included in the University Library's strategic plan, and which our strategic plan obviously aligns with our campus's mission and vision. OER professional development can be used for promotion and tenure packets at SCSU, so that was also really helpful in sustaining this. We continuously collect data that we share with the Dean's Advisory Councils so that they can share with their departments and kind of compare where they're at compared to maybe other departments or other schools and colleges on campus. And we also met with the university president just to advocate for the importance of this work and to sustain my position and make sure that this work continues. So I also noticed that we needed to have a dedicated OER team. I think that's fundamental in an OER initiative. So our team is comprised of myself, the Dean of University Library, and then other librarians who were assigned affordability work as part of their workloads. They were instrumental in supporting faculty like in their liaison areas, which was helpful for me. And then the Dean's office staff were also very helpful with just logistics for events and creating digital signage and handling outreach. We also regularly offer OER professional development opportunities such as workshops, sessions that we host, as I mentioned, but we also share information regarding webinars and conferences about OER, and we offer to sponsor faculty if there's travel involved or registration fees, just to make sure that they can access those opportunities. We continuously monitor and assess impact by collecting data and analyzing it over time. Thankfully, they had already started doing that, I think, in 2021. So we've got a few years of data we can work with. But we specifically collect data on student textbook cost savings and the number of affordable course sections offered. And I'm happy to say for both, we've seen an upwards trend. So my biggest challenge was building relationships with faculty. OER collaboration relies heavily on relationships, especially between faculty and librarians. Being that I was new to the university, my position was brand new and unknown to a lot of faculty, it was difficult for me to make these connections. I also was just navigating, being a librarian and in my first year of librarianship. So there's definitely a learning curve there. Also, I encountered a host of communication issues. So our faculty listserv was removed, and so I no longer had a way to contact all faculty. We also had roughly 60 retrenchments announced last year, which led to just overall low morale on campus and made my work difficult. I learned that money is not a motivator for faculty. Despite offering various funded opportunities, it did not motivate faculty like I thought it would. And I also learned that faculty do value OER and how it can benefit their students, but they just do not have the time to look into it, learn about it, find it. The faculty retrenchments had led to many faculty being stretched thin and not able to work on any additional work. So that also was challenging. So for effective OER collaboration, I recommend engaging with faculty early to start developing those relationships. So for me, new faculty appeared to be the most fruitful in terms of pursuing OER. But also I would suggest not being afraid to lean on the connections your colleagues have made. The other librarians here had all been here for over 16 years and obviously then had established many relationships throughout campus, and that helped tremendously. I would also recommend contacting faculty directly. They responded more so when I would send a direct email to them versus sending out any kind of mass email to either department, or when I was able to use the faculty listserv, sending out a mass email to all faculty. I recommend having a centralized location for information to point faculty to. Right now, we are using our LibGuide, but we hope to transition to a Microsoft Teams here in the near future. Also, I recommend continuing to offer professional development opportunities. So like my intro to OER workshop was the most attended. I then offered it multiple different times throughout the year, and it was always the one that people attended the most. Lastly, I recommend building advocacy through faculty and students. So use those OER faculty champion or faculty OER champions to spread the word and support faculty in their departments. Also recognize that students have power and should be included in this work. Okay, are there any questions for me?
I'll just unmute. I know you talked about like what's motivating the faculty. Have you felt or received a lot of resistance from faculty who are completely like against this work?
Not necessarily. I haven't found any faculty that have had issues with OER in general. It's just a matter of time. Time was like the biggest concern, is that they just don't have the time to look into it.
Yeah, we have definitely heard that. We have a lot of campuses who have done similar work in SUNY. So I was really intrigued to hear how it went there, and it's pretty similar. Most of the lessons learned and the outcomes the same. And this initiative is pretty much being led by the library, it sounds, right?
Yes, we're hoping that university administration will kind of acknowledge it more and use it in like marketing purposes to show that we are an affordable campus. I know the dean is currently working on trying to work with the Min-State system and identify affordable campuses and have that designation that campuses can use to encourage this work to continue.
That's great. I think a lot of our SUNY colleagues will want to check out this recording as well and just see if there's any tidbits they can learn for recruiting on their own campuses.
Great, thanks, Katie. I'm not seeing anything else pop in the chat. This is your last chance, folks. If there's any questions, want to make sure I catch them in the recording. No? Okay, all right.